The events that we're doing are so much more diverse, brand activations, private events. There's just a lot more that goes into an event. There's a lot more diversity in the types of events that we're working. So I do think that how we can show up is a little more ambiguous.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Keeping Up with the Calligraphers podcast. This is Kat of Kat Lauren Calligraphy, and I'm here with
Alex of Signs of Our Lives.
And thank you for your patience. We're excited to be back with this episode. But first, I do want to do a little catch up. Alex, I know you launched since our last episode your mentorship. Tell me about that. How is that going?
I don't know if I would call it launch so much as put
Well,
it
you shared about it again.
I shared it. Yes, I shared it. I didn't do any sort of launch situation. That would have probably been smart, but I'm doing more of a soft launch situation, a soft opening, if you will, of some mentorship services, because I know a lot of folks would like to get advice, and advice is sometimes really valuable, and sometimes we can answer those questions in our podcast. Sometimes it's something that's really specific, especially if you want something specific to your business goals or what you should do next with your art, or oh my god, I have 700 ideas in my head, which one do I start with? Because I feel like we've all been there. Very, very small amount right now. It's just $40 a month. Not a month. I would say a month, but it's technically a session and then you can cancel it afterwards. On Patreon is something that I'm doing, is some mentorships. Patreon is basically a way that I don't have to put all of this shit on my website.
I feel that.
All my business tips, all of my art tips, all of those sort of things that I've wanted to share for so long, I can do that on Patreon. It's just a hub. So
I love that.
Yeah. And so there's different versions. There's free things. So a lot of the blog posts that I write are things we might have talked about, but then I'll just reword it a little bit differently and put it in a blog post. Or I don't know, I did something about how to keep your lettering straight if you're on site, something really simple, just a little tip here and there. And a lot of that stuff is free. And then there's an $8 a month. And that's going to be something where I created a pitch deck template. So when you're reaching out to brands and you are oh my God, I have to fucking create a pitch deck. What the hell is that? And what do I do? So yeah, just trying to keep it simple and put a lot of things out there for y'all.
And super accessible.
Yeah. For sure. That's the goal, because I don't love education being behind a paywall. Obviously, that's part of why we started the podcast, right? Because there's a lot of things that we've learned over the years that are just well, duh, or it's just a simple trick, right? And then the more intense stuff like engraving demos or things like that will be, very minimal pricing situation. Yeah, so there's options if anybody wants that. I've done a few already and it's been really great. I love just 30-minute quick sessions with people, and I just know how much I needed that. I was I just need someone to word vomit to, and then they tell me what I do next or how to solve this weird problem that I'm having, right?
100%. And then you've already had a couple of sessions. How's that gone?
Yeah. Great. I mean, I definitely want to get feedback from everyone, but so far so good. I've received positive feedback in my DMs and stuff like that, and gratefulness. So I'm pumped about that. And nothing comes overnight. So I think that's also something to note, that it's a lot of things are okay, these are the next steps, and it is work, for the other person, that they now have to go do the next steps. But I have very high hopes for everyone. Everyone's so talented. I've been working with muralists. I've been working with watercolor artists. I'll be talking with leather goods artists this week. And I'm so amazed by how many different arts and mediums that could bring their stuff to events. It's just so freaking cool. It's not just calligraphy.
I was going to say, I love hearing that obviously it would be great to have calligraphers, no shade there, but I love hearing that people from other niches are learning. It's just a reminder that business tips and stuff like that, it doesn't have to be so calligraphy specific. And that's cool, because then you're getting inspired by them. What a fun little relationship. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it so much of the importance of diversity of thought. And I feel like that's so much in the art world, right? Like, speaking of someone that we're going to have as a guest, I learned from someone recently about taking the tape that I use for my tattoo machine and using it on my engraving machine. And I was like, duh, like, duh. So I think it's one of those things where I think it sometimes helps to have just like an outsider perspective of someone who's doing what you're doing, but not exactly doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or someone who's been there before. So yeah.
I love that.
But we, as usual, it's been like a hot fucking minute since we've been on here because we have been doing the most as usual. And then you have been out of the country again. Surprise,
I
surprise.
did. Yay. I left.
What passport stamp did you get this year?
Spain. So I had it in my old passport, which, sidebar, that is like the worst part. For those of you that don't know, like I grew up as part of like an airline family, so I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to travel a lot. So I mean, my passport was like pretty full, and so I was really bummed when I had to get a new passport. And then you have to get all your stamps again. So I got my Spain stamp back into my new passport, which is my favorite place in the world. When I started doing weddings 2 years ago now, which that's crazy. That was like my bucket list thing. Like, I was like, I want someone to book me for a destination wedding in Spain. So it was just really such a cool moment. I mean, any of the travel I get to do is fun, but having that be like bucket list moment and doing all the things. And then, yeah, I'm excited. I don't know what the next bucket list thing is, but I'm going to figure that out.
Literally manifested it.
It was wild. But yeah, it was a chaotic trip, but like chaotic good, I guess.
Yeah, not chaotic evil, chaotic good. Yeah.
Yes, chaotic good. And ended
And we'll
up
do
being
a
a
whole,
good trip.
yeah, we might do a whole episode on that. I don't know.
There was a lot to go over. I had a bunch of people in my DMs like asking me a bunch of questions. But yeah, so it was a good trip. And I'm
That's
excited to see
incredible.
what's next.
And you were there for a wedding, which
I
I don't know
was.
if you said already, but just to clarify for everyone, she was there for work because someone hired her to literally come to Spain and paid her to come all the way to Spain with them for their wedding.
And then we tagged on some vacation on the front and back end.
I'm really proud of you for that because that is like, I feel like kind of a new thing.
It is. I did not take any. Am I lying? Hold on. Okay, the flight out was a 7 a.m. flight. So I
Oh
had to
my
be at
God.
the airport at 5 a.m. But the flight back was not. The flight back was a 10 o'clock flight. So you'd be very proud of me.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's fine. But more importantly, you didn't just go to Spain, stay there for 24 hours, and then fly back like you usually do for these.
Like I will be doing this week when I go to New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm proud of you. You enjoyed yourself, and I can't wait to hear about it. It's literally been weeks, and we haven't talked about it, and I feel like it's so weird that we're just like, putting it off until the pod, but it's okay. I'll be
Well, the
patient.
freaking adrenaline dump after was crazy. Just dealing with everything and all the coordination of the stuff. And then we got sick right after. And then you and I are constantly, but especially right now, once again, losing against the monster that is overbooking ourselves.
Listen, I was supposed to have my project schedule spread out, and then one of my clients pushed their schedule a week. And so now everything's happening in the same 3-week period where I will literally not get a day off between any of those days. But yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes you just gotta, I feel like we're sprinters, you know? We're
We
not
are.
marathoners. Okay, so we already recorded the episode that you're going to hear next, and we'll do the bio in a second. But before we go into the episode and our guests, who we were so excited to have, we wanted to give a little bit of background as to why we're doing the episode and some context behind some of the things that we were chatting about. Basically, the context is that somebody posted on Instagram or so. We're not going to get deep into it. If you saw it, you saw it. If you didn't see it, so sorry. We're going to give you as much context as we possibly can, but only to a certain extent. But basically, the subtext was talking about professionalism, was talking about event attire in a way that was just not the fucking vibe. And it appeared that a lot of people were agreeing with the sentiment of the post. We and of many other people in the calligraphy community read the rest of it was pretty long. I feel like people only read like the first paragraph and then they like stopped reading. So I think that was also part of it. Read the rest of the other paragraphs that were part of the post, and we're like, oh no, that's not cool. Because it was something that kind of brought down our community. And if you guys have been listening for a while, you know that that is not what we are about. We are about supporting each other. We are about lifting each other up as much as we possibly can, like in a positive way. That doesn't mean that we're not providing feedback or things like that, but we want to do it in a way where it's going to be more uplifting, I would say, right?
Yeah, just in helpful to the community for anybody that maybe saw that or is maybe just interested in hearing about that. If you're a little bit newer or now you're starting to branch out into different types of events where attire maybe plays a larger role than some of the events that you have been doing. And yeah, just like to be helpful and also to actually open up the discussion surrounding it in a way where people can have that dialogue, can talk through the different nuances of it, and people feel safer, hopefully, to share their thoughts, feelings, questions, input, all of that.
Yes, 100%. And because of that, it did open up the discussion. So silver lining, I feel like a lot of community was created. A lot more people found our podcast. So hi, if you're new here, welcome. Go listen to all the other episodes from season 1 and 2. We have a lot of good shit in there. But if you have been listening for a while, then you know that we want to be helpful. This is all about community. Okay, so background on the actual conversation that we had today with our guest was that we had discussed in the post, specifically me, Alex, had brought up the term white supremacy. And if you Google white supremacy characteristics, there are some things that will come up that are directly or indirectly related to the topic at hand that we're talking about today, which is professionalism and event attire. And so
dress codes a little more broadly.
Yeah, dress codes specifically. So there's a way that we're talking about this where we want what's best for all of the community. We want everyone to be able to get a job no matter what they look like, no matter how they speak, no matter if they have tattoos or not, or piercings or whatever. And I think it's really important to note that there are many different cultures in the world. We are coming from America when we're talking about this, which is a very westernized culture. And unfortunately, a lot of things that are deemed professional are also things that might look or feel a certain way, which is only one way, when there really are so many other ways to express yourself, to look, to be. And so again, when we're talking about this stuff, it's a nuanced conversation. If you have like any specific questions about that, you're welcome to reach out to us. If you're feeling like this is uncomfy for me, that's totally fine. It's an uncomfy topic for some people, and happy to provide resources where you can learn more about specific things. I know I personally, after that specific post, listened to like 3 separate podcasts about dress codes and the history of, dress codes and how they are related to white supremacist culture. And so I just want to come from a place of like, we have taken the time to really like think about this, to learn about it. And it's not like to target anyone. It's not to call anyone out, but simply to call everybody in that we want you guys to be able to communicate to your clients. We want you to be feeling confident when you're at events. We want you to have all the resources that you need. And so sometimes when we talk about these things, it's systemic. It's more than just an individual situation, because of a system that was set up that included some people and weren't really considering or thinking about other people. And so that's basically where we're coming from. Pat, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I think the main takeaway that I had from it, and again, it was a great conversation talking through a lot of the nuances where I feel like the post didn't create any space for. But I think the largest takeaway for me was that a lot of the language surrounding professionalism, dress codes, all of those things tend to be very subjective, and they don't mean the same thing to everybody a lot of times.
Yeah.
So taking it upon yourself, whether it's asking for clarification or offering clarification, however you and your client can get on the same page about what can be expected on site regarding setup, appearance, conduct, or any of those things. That was the main takeaway from me. Find a way to objectively get on the same page, and that'll work out best for everybody.
Yeah. I think that's so important. I think language is really important too, and that we didn't really get into fully than that in our episode that we're sharing, but I think language was the main what is it, like the hanging point, the main,
like where things get snagged, like caught up, go sideways. What do you want? I don't know.
yeah, I think that's where everything went sideways.
Yeah.
Was the certain language that was used and the way it could be misconstrued because it is subjective and because it was coming from a certain place. So yeah, I think that's exactly it. And again, we're here for support. And we love y'all. And tell us about our guest that we had.
All right. So if you didn't see it in the title or the show notes or anything already, we got a chance to have a conversation with Sylvia Wong of Via Calligraphy. She's somebody that I have looked up to. I took her course when I first got started, which we'll talk a little bit about. So it was just like really cool to actually connect with her and get to talk about all of these things because she put together such a helpful post, was the inspiration for this episode. So a little bit about Syl. So she is a Toronto-based artist that's known for her modern calligraphy and elevated event experiences. Through her brand, Via Calligraphy, she brings luxury events to life with live engraving, hand lettering, and personalized touches that create unforgettable moments. She's also the founder of the Just Married Jacket project. Her iconic wedding jacket has been worn by over 200 Toronto brides and is now making its way around the world. With 20 years of experience as a digital marketing director, Syl offers a rare blend of artistic talent and strategic business insight. She's the co-creator of Luxury Lettering 101, which is the course that I took, which teaches online courses and offers coaching for artists who want to break into the world of live events and building thriving creative businesses. Her deep understanding of branding and audience building sets her apart, both as a working artist and as a mentor to others in the industry. So clearly, I mean, she's the best of the best, and she's got incredible style.
Yes, that is an understatement. I think she's definitely like outfit goals for sure. She's obviously provided a lot to our community as calligraphers and artists. And so we're super pumped to have her as a guest.
And here's that episode.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Keeping Up with the Calligraphers podcast. We have a guest today that we're so excited about. We have Syl from Via Calligraphy. Say hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
So we already gave a little bit of an intro. We already kind of said why we're here. So we're just going to get right into it for anyone who maybe got to this point right now and skipped over the intro. But you have basically made yourself, well, you are the expert on this in terms of fashion, in terms of how you dress, in terms of how you basically talked about all of those things in the post that you shared. And so basically we just want to talk about all of that and like, what does professionalism mean to you? Because it means so many things, right? And, you know, we want you to touch on kind of like, what is it for you personally?
Well, thank you. Thank you for, giving me that kind of credit and being the expert here. I think it's been a little bit accidental, but in sharing an outfit of the day every time I'm going to an event or something, I think has kind of made it a thing where people are now tagging me and saying, you know, I'm sharing my outfit just like Syl does. And I think professionalism is so contextual. Like if we're strictly talking about in the calligraphy world and going to events and we're talking about like how you have to dress, we're artists and we're often showing up as staff. So there are dress codes we often have to abide by. And that is what people these days think of as professionalism. But I think that we can't look at it without the context of knowing that professionalism has deep-rooted ties to being very white supremacist, like let's really get into it. It's a little bit male-centric. If we really got into, how offices have been developed, it's like professionalism was a three-piece suit and it was on a middle-aged man, and we can really, really get into it and talk about the dynamics of why temperatures are so low in your standard offices, because they are made for men in their three-piece suits and them boiling and being huge-bodied and everything too. So they're kind of places that haven't traditionally been welcoming to women identifying people, and have not been inclusive either. So I think the conversation of professionalism can very easily, again, dropping the big white supremacy, really aligns itself with, I think, Alex, like you have directly referred to, the characteristics of white supremacy, which I think, like, if anyone doesn't know what those are, they're really useful to look up to kind of understand inclusiveness and the systems built around us. So all that said, like, I think, the calligraphy community is very, very woman-centric, and it's very diverse. So I see a lot of like my friends and colleagues that wear hijabs, that wear, religious dress, and that is not traditionally included in old dress codes, right? In some countries, in some provinces here, those kinds of dress, like hijabs even, have come under controversy of law, right? So professionalism is like, it's a massive topic, and I think if you come into the conversation swinging and saying, oh, this is appropriate, not appropriate, professional, not professional, you got to give me context for like what we're saying here, and what you're understanding about what you might be calling unprofessional.
Yeah. No, I think that was such a perfect answer, because at the end of the day, it's nuanced. And at the end of the day, like when we say professionalism, I think some people, like you said, they have this image in their head of like what that might mean, right? Or like the history of what that has been. And so as artists, artists are people that are creative, we're expressive, we have our own unique identities. And so when we're given the term professionalism, at least for me personally, I'm always like, oh, like, what does that mean to you versus what it means to somebody else? So I think, like, what are some tips that like you can give for us as creatives walking into these situations, working with various brands, where we're not like getting rid of our own unique identities, but still presenting in a way that like might be more on theme or on brand or anything like that?
Yeah, I think if ever like the conversation is coming up and we are talking about things like what is professional, what is classy, like I hate both. You know what I mean? Like
Words.
oh, I don't know. I think classy is like, now we're throwing classism into things and like really trying to describe what, looking wealthy or of a certain class looks like. And so not to not answer your question, but like to get into like, the descriptors and the words we're actually using to talk about things. As artists, I think expressing yourself is like a big part of things, and everyone has their own unique look or the way they dress or what they're comfortable in. I think the best way to prepare yourself, especially since like in the context of us as calligraphers, I think we're talking about people who work in events and not necessarily like, calligraphers that are at home doing a lot more in studio work where it's like, doesn't matter, the work is the work sort of things. Yeah. Two major tips are like, first, showing what you look like online on your site and everything is like, first and foremost, it's like up there, it's like out there, people can see what to expect. If you guys are listening to this, I have like big stretched ears. I have like a nose piercing. I have tattoos. I have really ridiculous long nails. And like I have, they're going to have nail art on them. And as a result, I know for the most part that clients will have seen me in the process of hiring me, because they have either seen my site or they've seen my social media, etc., where I post a lot of images of myself and what I look like. So first and foremost, what are you going to look like on site, right? Second, it is never off base for you to ask of your clients, what is the dress code? I just sent out an email today because tomorrow I'm going to be on a horseback riding farm.
All right.
Incredible.
And so I just said, like,
sheep.
Exactly. Frankly, I just said, like, am I indoors or outdoors? Because I think that makes the biggest difference right now, because we're in heat wave. But it's never off base to ask your client, like, do you have a dress code? Or if you really, really want to just like make it easy for them and not have them have to overthink it or explain to you, say, do you have a dress code? If not, I'll come in all black business casual, right? And that's like having that default of some kind of uniform can make things really, really easy. If I don't know what to wear, I've got this one outfit, same. Everyone asks me, it's the Aritzia effortless pants, everyone. And some kind of vest top. That's it, So it can be really, really simple. But all that said, that means that most of the time you're coming to an agreement with your client, right? And so in those moments where you're wearing maybe a formal dress and people are thinking like, why does the artist think that she's supposed to show up at this wedding with formal dress on? It was probably discussed with the client already.
Yeah. I mean, Kat could definitely speak to that for sure.
I know, you always get to wear like formal dresses.
Well, it goes with what you had said about aligning expectations. I hate wearing all black and I hate wearing the business casual one. I just didn't have stuff that fit that in my wardrobe already. So I just started asking people like, what is the event? What's the theme? What's the dress code? Like, and then that really just started being a lot more flexible, especially at weddings. Like, I want to look like presentable and I don't necessarily want to be perceived as part of the wait staff, which there's nothing wrong with the wait staff, but like it's a different interaction I get from people. It sounds like maybe my daughters woke up. So can you guys hear them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
That's okay.
Sorry. If you can hear this, it is what it is. Sorry.
To the Unipolar podcast, dogs barking, doorbell ringing. The pros even do it.
But yeah, it was a very intentional. Okay, well, I'm gonna go check on her because now she's like hysterical. So I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna let you guys continue. Feel free to continue without me.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. Quick pause for Kat to take care of the babies. So I think Kat just touched on it really well of just interacting with the clients. And I'm curious, do you have like do you have something on your contact form? Do you just straight up ask them in your email after booking? Or do you only ask certain clients? Because there are so many different types of events, like wedding versus corporate versus brands. So like, what does your process look like for that?
Just having a background as a marketer, my form and my process for intaking clients is like as minimal as possible. So it's like minimal entry for them to just give me their email and their inquiry. I only just recently on my events page like added number of guests, so it's like very, very minimal. Where I end up talking to clients about it is what I call the discovery phase, which comes from working at a marketing agency. Like you kind of have to look at where your client is and their interaction with you in phases. And it's nice to kind of implement that into your workflow to call it a discovery phase, because there's a time when you're just like, what do you want? What can I do for you? Like what, like, right? Like sometimes don't you get like
more details?
Yeah. Don't you get people that are like, can you give me a quote? And you're like, for what?
Where is it? How many people?
What
do you want customized?
Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if you're asking about an event or a commission or what, right? So during the discovery phase, it's like so fair game to be like, where is it? What's going on? But I have a sense of casualness with it at this point of being in business for like 9 years, where sometimes I'm finding out the venue like 2-3 days before. I'm like, it's fine,
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. And I feel like that is something that I feel similarly about. It's like that point of entry. I'm not putting it on my contact form. I'll ask like, what's the aesthetic and vibe? If you want to, but it's not required. It's like, do you want to give me more info? Great. If you don't, whatever.
Yeah. Some clients are good about it, some less so, but like the ones that are like really intense about like the vibe of it, what's going on, they'll share a mood board. Like I've had clients that actually gave me the time of day where they're like, can I set a meeting with you to show you everything? And they walked me through the whole deck and said like, this is where you're going to be placed. Here's the mock-ups. Here's what we're getting printed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's so, so nice of them. Like so unexpected. And then some are just like, yeah, just show up.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that makes so much sense because it's just every client is going to be different. Going to look to you to kind of guide the process as well. So I think that's good that you're already doing that through your discovery and through how you're talking to them and what you're talking about. And yeah, you're right. Like the client is gonna, if it's important to them, they're going to mention it, right?
Because I do this realm of teaching and coaching, I've had people come to me and say, like, I'm kind of worried about asking this. I'm like, what are you worried about? Are you worried about not knowing? Because I don't think they're going to assume that you're dumb. They're not going to assume that you're inexperienced. They're going to assume that they didn't give you the information. And if you have it, you can show up better.
That's such a good point. I've been more inspired by Kat for sure. And then you more recently too, seeing you post this and like share more of your to Dawes and your outfit of the day for anyone who doesn't know that reference. But dressing as part of the event, because it really, I was just at an event where everyone was in like Girl Scout attire and it was like the cutest thing. Like you show up and it was literal camp. You're like, wow, I am here.
So cute.
I was not informed on the dress code, so I was not dressed up.
But I know, like, sometimes you feel left out, right? It's like, if I had more information and the right colors.
I think it's part of our niche also evolving though, too. I mean, still you were doing it as one of the beginning people doing events. Alex, I feel like you also were in the beginning and you like dragged me along. But before, it really wasn't a whole lot of private events. It wasn't in weddings. So it really was just within like the luxury brands and stuff like that, where the dress code was a little more predictable, or they already were assigning a dress code that aligned with the employees that they already have. The standards were the same because they wanted you to blend in. We're like 5-6 years down the line now. The events that we're doing are so much more diverse. Brand activations, private events, there's just a lot more that goes into an event. There's a lot more diversity in the types of events that we're working. So I do think that how we can show up is a little more ambiguous. So there's no reason why we couldn't or shouldn't ask how involved and how into that they want us to be. I don't think that's a question that would be off base.
No, not at all. I think like you're right about the evolution of the niche. We used to just be in these retail stores, just look like the staff, right? Now we're doing these pop-ups where I don't know, they're really, really amping it up. Every pop-up has like 10 activations in it. There's like themes to them. They're really trying to like escalate and get people to share. After all of this, like after the post that I made and everything, someone messaged me and they were like, I'm going to an event where they just asked me to dress as a flight attendant. So, like we're having to get in these like cute little costumes and stuff. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. And I think I would love to go back to you guys. You shared a little bit about the retail space. So I think a lot of people listening, like if they're not in Southern California, I know Southern California and I think in Toronto as well, where you are, right? You're in Toronto?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's
We're
right.
bad at geography, notably on this show. But I think like there's cities, right, that have these type of like influencer, VIP, like really like elaborate events, right? And then there are, more
like remote areas.
I guess like more typical events, right?
Yeah.
Where it is retail based and they are asking you to come in a certain dress code. So I'd love to get more into that because that also I think is kind of what we were referring to, through your post, through my comments on the post that we were referring to, that was not you, somebody else, about just like how dress codes could be totally inaccessible. So what are your thoughts on all these guidelines?
I think like what space you're talking about, being in luxury stores where you're working alongside retail staff, you're usually meant to follow their guidelines too. And obviously my post is just a slide carousel. It's not all the information in the world, but I do have multiple guidelines from clients that have been sent to me over the past years where they literally say in them like, no nail art allowed, or your hair has to be in one of 2 hairstyles.
No piercings.
No piercings.
Cover your
allowed.
tattoos.
Long sleeves required or whatever. And then some are like a lot more casual. Some of them say running shoes black or white colored, and then they have to be fully black or fully white. And sometimes you do or you don't have these things, right? So most recently I did have to work something and I didn't have fully black or fully white running shoes. And I was like, the fashion math I had to do was, what do I wear when I don't have those things? Because I'm not going to buy a new pair of shoes for this one day at this one job. And the way that you're supposed to navigate dress codes like that is like you dress up, right? Up on it. So like, it's like you don't dress worse than it. So rather than the black running shoes or white running shoes, I wore black dress shoes. I'm like, what are they going to do when they're nicer than what they intended? But they can be fairly strict. And then in some retail environments, they do provide clothes for you to wear. There's like one store where they give you like a little jacket thing to wear over whatever it is that you're wearing. So that strictness comes from their own dress codes and they just hold you to the same standards as what's happening in store. I can't speak to the inclusiveness of all of them. I will say when there's like a dress code that says that your hair has to be in a neat ponytail, I don't think that's inclusive of all hairstyles. So
yeah.
But that strictness comes from a place of like corporate, and depending on what you know about like when you work with brands and like the contact that you have, sometimes you're being hired by the head office, sometimes you're hired by like the regional manager, sometimes you're hired by the actual store manager. Who is able to give you that leeway if you have questions about it? I don't freaking know, guys. It's like up such a big chain of like, corporate BS that you're kind of like, whatever, abide by it or don't take the job, right? Like if you really are against it, you can be like, I don't work with these brands because I'm against it. I have brands that I don't work for because of like some of their values, but I'm not loud about it either, right? And it's like, you know.
Yeah. I think I would love to see, which it's hard in the beginning, but I would also like to see more artists stand their ground a little bit. To like your point, don't have everything that they would ask for. I don't have tights, or I don't own loafers, and I'm not going to go out and buy those things. So I told them in the email, I don't have it. Here are the options that I have that I think fit. Tell me what is workable for you as the brand.
Everything that you're saying too, depending on how long that you've been in the business, depending on your reputation, you have a lot more power in saying those things. When you do have a following, you are able to get the next job and whatever. And I think the people who are kind of willing to say like, okay, never mind, or they're even willing to take a smaller rate or whatever, just take the job to get into the market and get work right now, is a, whatever they say is the dress code, like I'm going to follow it. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like everything to do with dress code, professionalism, work, and your appearance is like, it involves context, and our ability to say yes or no to a job is like a privilege too. I think for me, like I've been in it for 9 years now. I'm like very willing to kind of lose a job at, they don't have enough for my rate, or things don't work out or whatever. But you also then have to feel things out, right? Like just say from the conversation you're talking about, Kat, maybe in like a typical retail environment, they're talking about, bringing you into the store for like a special event or something. They have the time to talk to you about it. But if they're doing like a nationwide hiring and it's for Mother's Day, or it's for, days before Christmas or something, and they're dealing with like 50 different stores, 50 different artists, they might be like, fuck that. I don't want to talk to this person. I'm just going to find another person on my next Google search, because it could be a pain in the ass. And this is not me saying like, just abide by the rules and shut up or anything, but it's all contextual. Because I've gotten myself in messes where it's like, some clients like just hated me and my approach, and it was like the wrong time or the wrong sensitivities around certain things that I pushed back on.
Yeah. I think it's a good point what both of you guys are saying, because I think it's, kind of up to people like us that have been doing this for so long to be in those positions and to be like, hey, this guideline doesn't work for all body types. I mean, it was like no skin off my back, but like I had to pin my bangs back. I was like, what? These are my literal bangs and you're making me pin them back because you can't see my full forehead. And I have
a passport photo.
Yeah. So I was just like, this is so bizarre. And like, I'm not even someone with like an afro or someone who has braids or like someone with a job, like you said, where I'm like, what are we doing here? So I think, maybe it's a little bit of both, where I think we can speak up for ourselves and we can maybe get to a point where, some of us who have been doing it a little bit longer are the ones being the squeaky wheels. I know I'd be happy to at this point. I know a year, even like definitely 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been as comfortable being a squeaky wheel, because I think it was just like, well, I really want this client. And now I'm like, no, fuck that client. Like, they're not letting me show my tattoos. They're not letting me wear my cute little belt that I always wear. I look like a cater waiter. I hate this.
I think like the nail art client, by the time they needed me for like another, it was like they kind of come back like annually around Christmas time. It's like last time around, I was like, I'm not redoing my nails for this one job, especially if they're not paying for it. And like for my whole, I'm not going to have like the whole Christmas season where I've just got like plain unmanicured nails because they're like no nail art. So I just went to the store and I just did it as is, right? Because there is the contract, but the contract didn't detail anything about abiding by those rules. So I was like, well, let's see where this goes,
Love that for you.
And then some of the rules too, like sometimes clients send you the rules and they will encompass not just like what you have to wear, but like behavior and stuff too. And so they'll say like your phone has to be locked up in the back and blah, 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 and whatever. And I think there is like a strictness level of things coming from corporate in which like they want their whole store and everyone to abide by. But then you're sitting there and you see like all the rest of the staff on their phones and stuff. And you're like, wait a second, how strict was this rule?
Yeah. It's so dependent too on the store staff, because I've gone places where the store manager was up my fucking ass and I never want to work there again. And I've gone other places, same exact brand, but a different store. And the store manager was like, we fucking love you. Please come back, wear whatever you want. Just make sure it's black. And they didn't give a shit that my nails were black. Whereas the other one was like, excuse me, you must have the nude nails. And I'm like, same thing. It's like,
yeah, I think like it's important to touch on that, like amongst all these dress codes, amongst rules and everything that we're like, okay, if you have the privilege, you can break them. Like it's, it kind of parallels things like white supremacy again. I'm gonna bring it up. It's like, oh, like white people are the ones where it's like, if you just follow the law and you don't break the law, then you're all good, but you won't be the ones penalized, right? Similar, where I think I learned pretty young that like I went to uniform school and it was like button-up shirts. You're allowed to have like one button undone. Never more than one button, right? There's like very, very strict rules around things. And there was like, you've got to wear a white undershirt and whatever. Like, I could have as many buttons undone as I wanted to because I have a flat chest. And I think I learned young too that if you have a flat chest, you can wear as low of a thing as you want to. And no one will ever be like, that's slutty. They're going to be like, that's so high fashion because there's no cleavage to be seen.
That is such a good point. Because I feel that often, even like, you know, Kat and I might be wearing the same outfit and I feel like it looks one way on her, it looks a totally different way on me because I'm like, I feel like the shortened wider version. And I'm like, oh shit, like I look slutty as shit because I am wearing like a low cut top where it might not look that way on somebody else.
Right. Like, and so again, context, it has everything to do with like bodies. Like, you know, in this topic, we can get into like fat phobia too. Like, it's the curviness of your body and like how much you're showing it and what people consider to be, again, another word that's like not great is like flattering. You know, people saying like you got to wear something that's flattering to you, which what means you look skinny, is again contextual on people's bodies, how they wear things, how things fit. And I think it's same rule might not apply across the board. So uniform school, we had like your skirts had to like with your hands down go past your fingertips, but again, if you got a bigger butt, your skirt's just gonna look like shorter, right? Yeah.
No, that's so true. And I would, yeah, and even the girls with the longer legs, like their skirts would be shorter. And it's like, we all have the same skirt. Like they didn't do anything differently. Their legs are just so much longer.
You know, rules are always trying to encompass like the spirit of like, you know, will it look slutty or not classy or unprofessional, right? And I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I say fuck that, but
with caveats around, you know, wanting to work within them. I think like, you know, creativity is bred from a place of having boundaries too.
That's so interesting. Did you listen to the Hom Sweet Hom podcast? I feel like she said something about that recently.
I haven't listened to it, but I have been a longtime follower and I have taken her workshop and stuff. Okay. But yeah, I think like if you're limitless in like what you can create, it's actually like very like it's very scary, you know?
Yeah. No, that was something she literally said like exactly recently. So I was like, oh, did you just listen to that too?
That's amazing.
Yeah. I love that. Same way. It's like such a good point. Yeah, I think also, okay, here's another question. Because I think, you know, we really touched on a lot about like how dress codes can fucking suck for the individuals and just like systemically, right? How they're maybe not that inclusive and how, you know, we can align to different brand guidelines. But like, do you like agree to a point, right? Because I think, you know, thinking about the three of us, we all have very different styles. Would you agree that there are clients out there that are hiring artists for more than just their talent because they're posting the outfits, because they're showing up with their face and their style on their websites and their Instagrams? Like, are they hiring them for their vibe and what they're bringing to the event?
100%. I think like a big part of that is like, especially when you work at an event, like you are meant to be a vibe bringer, right? Like they're not bringing someone just for the service. Like people talk about things like, oh, like there's laser engravers, there's like all these tools that can kind of do these things, whatever. I don't care. Like they're not bringing in that tool to make the event. Like they want the personality. That's why even then they're still going to need to hire brand ambassadors. And at a lot of like premium like staffing agencies, a lot of the people, like if you start to talk to like the staffing agencies and the people that work there are people who are, especially in my town, probably yours too, they're actors. They're people who are like charismatic, yes. Right? And so like they're there to create an environment and make like an experience. I've been told that I come and like make the event cooler. So it's nice, right? I think that part of it also means that you are directly empowered as the artist to continue to post what you're going to look like, what you look like in a space, what kind of energy you bring. Like, I think it's kind of important to, everyone's always like, it's such a pain to do reels, to do these, the whatever. And it's like, but you have to kind of show what you look like when you're interacting with clients, because all of these like old still pictures of you, like, you know, just holding a pen and just like smiling is like, I get it, but like, what is it like to interact with you? And are you good with guests, right?
Yeah. Or just the feed of like tight shots of your work. It's like, what is your name and what do you look like?
That's a big thing, right? And it's like in like teaching courses and stuff, it's like first thing we tell people is like, good, like you've mastered the art of calligraphy, but in the end, like a lot of the event world, they don't care of the quality of your calligraphy. Like they can't tell my work from yours, which is like, it
Crazy.
sucks to say. It's like
Yeah.
wild, and it's like maybe this is an extreme stance in some way, but like they don't care about the quality of your work. Yes, you want it to be good, you want to be able to like perform it, you want to be able to center, blah blah blah, but they're kind of hiring like a whole package, right?
Yeah. I know for me, when I like first started like really stepping into my own, like it was like postpartum, I had this one event. It was a perfume event, but the whole thing was like a very like sexy speakeasy vibe. And that was like the first time I was like, well, I don't have to just wear these like weird button ups. Like I can like go for it. And that was like, I did the whole corset thing. Like, so I feel like that's where that really rolled the ball for me. But before that, like I couldn't understand the idea of like how to develop my own personal style, how to incorporate that or not into my business. Like, I think for people that are transitioning from like beginning to do events and they're starting to get that ball rolling, do you have any tips or advice for them when they're in that kind of awkward phase and they're trying to figure out how to navigate their own personal style, find it, incorporate that into on site and maybe some of the more common like dress codes, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's like a hard thing to answer because there's so many creators and fashion theory and fashion industry people who talk about these things. But I think finding your personal style is an endless journey. Like, as long as there are, new styles, new trends coming out and everything, there's always going to be something that's kind of like tricking you into shopping.
Yeah.
I have a lot of views around like, fast fashion and shopping for every event and having capsule wardrobes and stuff like that. And at heart, I'm more of a minimalist and I like to buy for quality and like being obsessed with like pieces that you love. I'd say if anyone's exploring that right now, try not to shop. Like, try not to fill the void by being like, I'm going to shop and I'm going to buy the perfect thing. Try not to convince yourself that buying a capsule wardrobe is like buying every piece of that, but figuring out the things that are in your closet now that you love and that suit the occasion. Thrifting is great for doing that too. Testing things out. Getting some of the things that kind of fit you tailored goes a really, really long way as well. And like I mentioned before, like if we're specifically talking about like events, the event world and like what we're wearing, have a uniform for yourself. Like, and by uniform, like I'm not talking about like, Catholic school uniform, white shirt, black pants, like
Doesn't need to be
amazing slacks, pants that are like fit to your body. If you like wide leg, if you like them skinny, if you like them barrel leg, if you want them pleated, not pleated, whatever, get a great pair for you. And then like some kind of like top and blazer. And then you're probably set for like 90% of jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. We agree. We're also not fast fashion girlies. So both of us have been filling in a lot of these more fun events with like the subscription boxes and things like that, where
So
you're
fun.
able to pay, a flat rate and you get to pick X amount of things. Like, and that's been fun for me to be able to switch out different styles, or like, I would never buy a pink dress. Like, that's just not me, but I want to wear a hot pink dress and I know I will not buy that moving forward, So that was also
So fun.
helpful for me in seeing like as my body changes, what feels good on it, and not, like you said, shopping for every single event necessarily.
Yeah. It's hard with like changes in your body and then saying like something should fit you to feel good and then it doesn't fit you because it's your changes in your body and your weight. But I think fashion being a journey, don't jump on every single trend. Don't jump on everything you hear about. Like, you got to get something, and then don't look at me wearing something and say like, I've got to have that because it looks good on her. It's got to look and feel good on you.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. Like wearing things that like feel you when you put it on. Are you feeling joy? Are you happy? And like, especially as women, our bodies are always fluctuating. And I know having that, like, I don't know if I want to call it a capsule, but like having that sort of those uniform pieces that I'll wear over and over again. Like I know, okay, I'm a little bloated today, so like I'm not gonna wear those pants, but like those are great for like this other thing, right?
Yeah. And my capsule is going to look different from your capsule, right? It's like it's on the basis of weather, like what you feel most comfortable in, the types of jobs you mainly get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point too. Yeah, because some people are dressing for just retail and they love that like kind of like slower pace where you're doing like a few items per hour, whereas like we're we're dressing for like these pop-up brands where you're doing a lot.
Hundreds, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like a different energy in that is incorporated into your style as well, because it's supposed to be fun and not like this, bland thing. I'm actually trying to talk a client out of t-shirts right now.
And they always order like the thinnest possible
Unisex.
t-shirt, worst fit ever. They're so wrinkly when they come out of the box.
Yeah, I'm like, we're gonna have a meeting about this. But yeah, just have a capsule wardrobe, have your uniform, and it takes time. Like, and thrifting is really awesome. The cat turned me on to Newly, the whole like renting. It's been so fun because I don't wear color, and for all these events that we've had that require color, I'm like, okay, thank goodness I'm renting something, because there's no way I'm wearing this like any other time.
Right.
I think this was great. I think we did such a good job, like kind of wrapping everything up into one conversation. I think all of us can do a deep dive into all of these little subtopics we went on. But is there anything that you would like to promote so that people can support you, follow you? We'll obviously link your post and all your info in the notes. But yeah, what do you got for us?
If you are interested in the topic of dress codes or everything to do with working with luxury brands, doing events, and working in the brand space, I have a course called Luxury Lettering 101 that you could buy at somedayartclub.com. It's an amazing course and community in which you can kind of get into the industry and learn all of the basics, including dress codes, including what to pack for jobs, and figuring out what those first steps are to get your first brand job.
I'm an alum. I can vet and agree. I loved it.
Thank you so much. And thank you both so much for having this conversation and having me on here. I love talking about all things fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for keeping up, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Hopefully, you found that conversation as interesting and helpful and inspiring in a way. All the things that we did. Again, it was so nice to have Syl. So if you are not already following her, you can find her on Instagram. Her Instagram is at Via Calligraphy. We'll also put that in the show notes. And then Alex, where can they find
Signs of Our Lives on Instagram?
And I am at Cat Lauren Calligraphy. That's cat with a C. And if you're not already following us, what are you even doing here? Please follow us. We are at Keeping Up with the Calligs on Instagram. Go ahead and if you haven't already, rate us 5 stars, share on your stories when you're listening, add any comments, send us DMs, all the things. I know sometimes we post and ghost, but it does make us feel really good when you guys send us messages. We do eventually see them and share them with each other and all the things. So please feel free to reach out to us. If you're interested in mentorships from either Syl or Alex, we'll also link in the show notes a way to do so. I guess also for me, because I do that too.
And sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing.
Oh,
On our Instagram, we also, not incredibly often, but I would say pretty often, whether it's we ourselves are looking to have event assistants or event artists or other sort of things that we can refer out gigs to or projects or things like that. And sometimes people even DM us to like share something for them. We're definitely posting those on the stories. So if you're following us there and you're someone who wants to be looking out for work, then we're also sharing stuff on there.
yeah. So follow us.
So follow us. Okay, thanks for keeping up. Bye.
Bye.